Happy Monday. I got the date wrong. I don't know if I can go back and change it. I have to check and see real quick. I'm going over there at OBS. Give me a second. Because I know I'm supposed to have certain things going on here. Or else I'll get distracted. Hey, happy Monday. Let me see. Stream. Oh yeah. I'll probably have to just change it on the back end. Hopefully I can remember that. To change the oh, source border. Oh, source border. Okay. Use different codes. Source border selection. Let me see. See if I can change that. Let me see. Let me see what it look like. It didn't change nothing. Oh, on the screen, I see. Okay. So, okay, mixer, volume. Tell that OBS child she got so much cool stuff going on here. I'm gonna have to do that on another day. Distracting me. Hello. Lord, check me out. Typically during the time when what? I be just getting off. I be just getting off at this time. I know. But I was up. And so I figured I might as well tap in. It's okay, I understand. Look, it's okay, I understand. Trust me, I do. This is typically not my usual time. Let me just go on over to Andrew. Oh, hey. Technically, I do have to tap in with Adrian because,
You there?
Kevin didn't drop today. And he already told us about Thursday. Once he realized that he wasn't going to be dropping in, he did go ahead and let us know, hey, excuse me, I'm not going to be dropping a video this Sunday, so don't come over here all in the community section with all of that, going on the last video with all of that. Relax. So since Kevin didn't drop from Just All Lounge today, let's go ahead and tap in with Adrian over here on Coffee House Crime.
We begin with the mass shooting at a July 4th parade in Chicago.
So, is that me? Hold on, let me, okay, that is me. I got you. We in Chicago.
Suburb.
I am breaking through no matter what.
A person of interest is in custody after an hours-long manhunt.
You're always on my mind.
He lived here with his mother up until the shooting, when it was abruptly abandoned.
This is Robert Crimo, also known as Awake the Rapper. On the surface, he was a small-time artist from Illinois. He held a quiet presence in person and had a small following online. But between the years of 2019 and 2022, behind the screen, something within him was slowly starting to unravel. Now, if you look close enough, his videos were already unsettling, and his lyrics, well, they were laced with subtle cues of violence. So, in theory, the red flags and warning signs were already kind of there. But over time, his online world would grow darker, more chaotic, and even more disturbing. And on July the 4th of 2022, that being Independence Day, he, unfortunately, finally acted. In a matter of seconds, Robert Crimo shattered multiple families, ended several lives, and scarred a community forever. And as the nation began to ask the grand question, why, all of those who formerly knew him were now wondering how nobody saw it coming. Today, we are going to dive into the dark world of Robert Crimo, review the videos that he left behind, and finally take a look at the strange artifacts and notes, and even search for a motive. Welcome back to Coffee House Crime, folks. Welcome to the first video in our new studio, and welcome to 2026. My name is Adrian, and today we're looking at the case of Robert Crimo. Now, I have to be real with you here, it is actually quite rare for a case to get under my skin like this one. We've got red flags, unsettling behavior, and a bizarre trail of internet breadcrumbs that feels more like a twisted puzzle than a story. So, one of the most interesting aspects about this killer is that there seems to be many masks behind his personality. For example, you've got the quiet boy, the troubled teen, the edgy rapper, and the online troll. But behind each of these faces lies an even darker undercurrent. With that said, folks, I think you're going to need a strong coffee for this story. And so with that said, please grab yourself a brew, get comfortable, and let's caffeinate while we investigate. This is the case of Robert Crimo.
I did bring me a snack, honey, but I don't know how Adrian get.
Welcome to Highland Park, folks. Just a short ride north of Chicago and found right beside the waters of Lake Michigan. It's a charming town that is found in a beautiful part of America. Quiet leafy streets meander between rows of heritage brick homes. And here, coffee shops do seem to be a dime a dozen. Perfect for all those cold mornings over winter. And when summertime hits, well, you're met with beautiful scenery. And I truly mean that, because when the sun is out, Illinois is absolutely breathtaking. As for Highland Park itself, it isn't merely just an important part of Chicago's North Shore, but is a place where the 4th of July is a special tradition that is stitched into the town's identity. Independence Day is a huge thing here, and you will see that every year, its central avenue will burst into life with red, white, and blue. You get to experience the full shebang here, with marching bands, cotton candy, and neighbors sharing good food across the street. It's the kind of morning that feels comfortable, familiar, and safe. Now, unfortunately, with COVID happening over 2020 and then 2021, the grand event was sadly cancelled. But by the time that 2022 came around, everybody was ready to restart this great tradition with a boom. And the weather seemed to agree here too, because at one point, the sky was clear without a single cloud in sight. But here's the thing, then this happened.
Terror on the streets of Chicago as a gunman opens fire during a parade.
We begin with the mass shooting at a July 4th parade in a Chicago suburb.
Tragically, all of this happened while Highland Park's parade was in full swing. Not only was a band from the local synagogue playing across the road, but kids were chasing after candy, and parents were in the middle of dinner on lawn chairs. And that is when the sound of several distinct gunshots rang out. In fact, you can even see in some recordings that, while some people did realize that something was happening and were now running away, there were other people who were still blissfully ignorant of the danger behind them. But as the gunshots continued, and then people started to fall to the ground, that is when the music fully stopped and screams started to erupt. In a mere matter of moments, panic unfolded across Central Avenue. Families scattered, parents shielded their children, and furniture was overturned while the sound of bullets echoed throughout the streets. And what initially began as a day of happiness and celebration soon turned into one of absolute terror. Yet somehow, just as soon as all of this panic had erupted, it suddenly disappeared. And as for the killer, well, they had vanished too. People soon realized that all of the danger was actually coming from above, because the shooter, well, they'd positioned themselves on the rooftop of one of the local shops, before then silently fleeing away on foot. Witnesses caught only glimpses of the shooter, but what they saw was a frail woman with long dark hair and a very slender frame, which, as you'll soon realize, ouch, that will have definitely hurt the shooter's ego. And as for the gun, which, by the way, was an AR-15 style rifle, that would soon be found abandoned nearby. The confusion about who the gun belonged to would not last very long either, because after tracing it back to its owner via its serial number, they realized that it belonged to a man named Robert Eugene Crimo III, a 21-year-old man who actually lived nearby in Highland Park. And so, alongside this surveillance image, they would then release both his name and description to the public, including a description of his car, which was a 2010 Honda Fit. And so, within minutes, Robert's face was plastered all over America, and people far and wide knew his name and his description. Basically, the authorities described him as slender, had long dark matted hair, and had tattoos all over his neck and face. Now, if you imagine Shaggy if he lost Scooby-Doo, fell into a tattoo studio, and then committed to several years of hard drugs, he would probably look like this. Now, at this stage in the investigation, they actually described Robert as, quote, a person of interest. But to be honest with you, I think the moment they saw this surveillance image, they knew that he was probably the shooter. And so, with that said, the manhunt was officially on. As the hours ticked by, there was still no sign of Robert, and people began to wonder if maybe he had already fled the state. And unfortunately, there were even more disturbing questions like, was he maybe planning to strike again? Now, what the public did not actually know yet was that Robert had in fact actually left Illinois. Not only that, but he was now heading north towards Wisconsin with a second rifle and over 60 rounds of ammunition. We don't actually know why, but thankfully, he would actually cancel these plans along the way. Not only that, but he would also make the most stupid decision available and then headed back towards Illinois. In fact, it was around 6:30 p.m. that afternoon that the authorities clocked his car only 5 miles away from the original crime scene. And so, no surprise, he was arrested right there on the spot. It did seem that, for a brief moment, Robert even tried to flee from the officers. But without anywhere to go, and realizing that he had absolutely no way of escaping them, he surrendered without a fight only a few seconds later. Both dashcam and phone footage later showed him stepping out of his car slowly, dressed all in black. He then lay flat on the pavement with his arms outstretched before then being arrested. And just like that, the manhunt was thankfully over. But of course, in many ways, this was only just the beginning, because as the name Robert Crimo spread, people slowly began to find out who he was online. And the more that they uncovered, the clearer it became that this was not just some quiet loner, but a man who already had quite a large presence online. And so, on that note, who precisely was Robert Crimo, and what could have possibly driven him to do something so horribly inhumane? The thing is, when he was questioned by detectives, Robert confessed almost immediately. He didn't try to run from who he was or what he had done, and simply accepted it as if it was just another day in Highland Park. And when
there was so much going on at this time, but I feel like I remember this incident. Now we gotta go figure out who Robert is. We gotta jump down this rabbit hole to discover who he is. You just wish the days of these type of incidents were over. You just wish that. This was a thing of the past, and you gotta understand, this was back in 2022, honey. This, we... I can't even go down the list since 2022 from when he made his debut. It is just becoming so like ugh. How about me a snap? Because I know how Adrian can get. Let me let him finish.
began to take a look online at who he was, what they uncovered was even more disturbing, because they soon realized that this was not just a case of someone snapping out of the blue, but something that was both far deeper and far darker. The truth is that Robert had been displaying multiple red flags for several years by now, and the warning signs, well, they were things that no one seemed to act on until, unfortunately, it was far too late. But before we get into all of the hows and whats, let's first take a look at Robert's younger years, because, as you will soon realize, that leaves behind a clue or two.
Not or two.
Why I get triggered when someone gives me unsolicited advice. When I was younger, it came mainly from family, whether it was like a family member telling me where I should go to school, what career I should have. And then as I got older, it appeared in a little more subtle ways, I think. For example, passive aggressiveness, peer pressure, and my response has always been to just put my guard up, like make the walls higher and just stop letting people in. It's definitely made me more of a private person and also less trusting of people. I remember the first therapist that I was matched up with, she gave me that same feeling that I got when someone just offered me unsolicited advice. What I really wanted out of therapy was for someone to help me unpack that. Eventually I did find someone who I felt like was the right fit, and that completely changed my outlook on therapy. She gave me the space to
So, starting from the very beginning, the name was Robert Bobby E. Crimo III. What a bloody mouthful, let me tell you that. It turns out that he grew up only a few minutes away from the streets that he would later terrorize. Born in the year 2000, he was the middle child in a fractured household, and one that, unfortunately, was filled with many problems. Now, on paper, the Crimos looked like any other ordinary family. His father was the proud owner of a deli, and he would even once run for mayor. On the side, his mother would also dabble in alternative healing and in therapy. However, behind closed doors, things were very far from normal. When Bobby was only 2 years old, the police responded to a disturbing phone call that was made from a concerned stranger. A random passerby had noticed that Bobby was left inside a hot car for nearly half an hour, all while his own mother went swanning off to go shopping. As a result, she was arrested for child endangerment and would even plead guilty to her own foolish decisions. Not that this changed anything though, because the family home would remain turbulent. Over the next several years, the police were called to the property more than 10 times, with neighbors recalling explosive arguments and shouting between Robert's parents. Many people would also report that there were many arguments that happened between them publicly in the family-run deli. So, stepping back for a moment here, it is quite easy to see that Robert did not have a comfortable upbringing, and unfortunately, it gets worse. From videos that he posted online, you can see that Bobby kept to himself while at school. He always appeared to be quiet, withdrawn, and never seemed to smile in any of his photos. But what he did find comfort in was skateboarding and video games, and you can see through many of the videos that he's posted that he would spend many hours at the local skate park with his only real friend, Anthony Laporte. He would also play a lot of Call of Duty Zombies, which was the main theme that often came up in many of his real-life videos later on. As for the real world, like I said, he would spend a lot of time with his friend Anthony at the skate park. The two called themselves the Handsome Crew and would often film themselves around parks. It looks like Robert made many of these videos in retrospect and used nostalgic music to remember the good times. And unfortunately, there is good reason for this too, because sadly, in 2017, Anthony tragically died of an overdose. It is obvious to see that the loss of his best friend ruined Robert. He stopped going out, stopped showing up to his classes, and eventually would even drop out of school. And with his friend now gone and his family broken, he spent all of his time in his room on the internet. It is while here and alone that he began to build something different and eventually something darker. A persona that he liked to call Awakened, before then eventually rebranding to Awake the Rapper. Now, at this point in his life, he had already uploaded many tracks online ever since the age of 11. However, it was around 2017 that things really did begin to take shape. By 18, he had now become Awake the Rapper, an aspiring hip-hop artist with face tattoos, a nihilistic persona, and a growing obsession with violence. Under the new name, Robert or Awake flooded the internet with songs, videos, blog posts, his own website, and even merchandise. He scattered his new content all across multiple platforms, most of which was filled with disturbing images of mass shootings, death, and self-destruction. And over time, this rhetoric grew darker. In one video named Toy Soldier, Bobby used stick figure animation to depict a man and a woman, before then panning to a man dressed like him as a shooter. He then opened fire on a crowd, before then being shot and killed by cops. And another video, which was titled Are You Awake?, was even more disturbing to watch. In this video, he spoke in a rather robotic voice, delivering what almost sounded like his final words. Rather than quote him here, I'm just gonna let you listen to him instead.
Like a sleepwalker, I am breaking through no matter what. Like a sleepwalker, unable to stop and think. My actions will be valiant, and my thought is unnecessary. I know what I have to do. I know what's in it, not only for me, but for everyone else. Where am I going? I don't know. I don't care. There is no past or future, just the now. It is more abstract than I could ever imagine. I can feel the atmosphere pushing me in. It's unstoppable, like a wave pulling me under. I can't breathe without it. I can't see or hear what I don't want. I need to leave now.
After watching most of his videos, it is quite clear to see that Robert had some sort of fixation with July the 4th. Throughout many of his drawings, he would repeatedly post the number 47, an inversion of 7-4, of course, that being Independence Day. I mean, in hindsight, when you look at it that way, it kind of looks like a countdown. His social media was just as disturbing too. He designed his own personal logo, which of course looks eerily similar to another well-known hate symbol. And not only would he share violent memes online, but he would also name his Discord server SS, that being a direct nod to Hitler's paramilitary unit. However, politically speaking, Robert was actually quite contradictory in his methodology, and although he attended at least 2 pro-Trump rallies in 2020 and even dressed as Where's Waldo at one, he would also post about multiple government conspiracies online and was quite nihilistic about everything. So, he didn't really seem to follow any clear ideology, but did seem to chase clout and notoriety. Basically, Robert was cooked on the inside with dark and edgy internet subculture, and from the year 2019 onwards, the warning signs would only grow louder. Somehow, no one thought to stop him. And I'm quite surprised by that, because in hindsight, some of his videos were extremely worrying. Like this one, for example.
Have you been held a prisoner of your own device? Freedom. Freedom. Freedom.
Listen. That face is so sunk in, Lord. Oh my goodness. I'm talking about. It is sunk all the way in.
Freedom.
I'm like,
Free.
goodness gracious.
Freedom.
Where is your collagen on your hold on. I hit the wrong button, Lord.
Right now.
Let me let him finish.
Freedom. Are you in need of freedom? Are you in need of freedom? Are you in need of freedom? Well, by today. Have you been held a prisoner of your own device?
Now, in fairness, I don't think that you would immediately feel killer vibes after watching that, but at the very least, you'd probably think that he was some cringeworthy creep. But, unfortunately, it gets even worse.
The Wonder Oven Pro is an 8-in-1 non-toxic air fryer toaster oven. Now with 2 new cooking functions and precise digital controls. It preheats.
It was in April of 2019 that Robert apparently tried to end his life with a machete, and although we don't know how close he came, officers reportedly found him withdrawn yet cooperative. Which to me, if you read between the lines, sounds like he hadn't actually hurt himself yet. He was merely just flaunting it. Now apparently, at the time, Robert told officers that he was already receiving mental health treatment, and so no further action was taken. However, what we now know in hindsight is that Robert was actually receiving no support whatsoever. This was all just a lie. And then, only 4 months later, police received yet another phone call from a very concerned family member. And that's because apparently Robert was threatening to kill everybody in the household. And when police searched his bedroom, they found 16 knives, a dagger, and a samurai sword. Now, Robert denied any wrongdoing whatsoever, but just to be on the safe side, officers would cautiously file a report anyway, labeling him as a clear threat to both himself and others. But the thing is, this still did nothing, because when the police then reviewed the file a few weeks later, they dismissed it anyway. And so, only a couple days after that, all of the charges were dropped and the weapons were returned to Robert's father. Only 3 months later, and in January of 2020, Robert applied for a firearm owner's ID card. And although he was underage at the time and needed a sponsor, and despite everything that had happened prior, his father foolishly decided to sign that form. He would
It's the underage for me.
The claim that Robert's issues were merely just a teenage outburst, and that since he had no criminal record at the time, he shouldn't be determined as a bad person. To make things even worse, the state would even approve the application without any further review needed, meaning that it wasn't only his father that failed him, but the system too. Over the next 2 years, between 2020 and 2022, Robert then legally purchased 5 firearms, including pistols, a shotgun, and an M&P 15 rifle. As you can see, there were no consequences to his previous outbursts. Well, actually, there was one small consequence. After being kicked out of his family home, he ended up living with his uncle Paul in a small apartment in Highwood. However, in a way, that actually kind of made everything so much worse. And that's because Robert would grow even more isolated. He kept to himself, was unemployed, spent most of his time online, grieved the death of his best friend, and now had fully dropped out of college and was no longer seeing his family. And add 5 firearms to the mix, and, well, it takes no smart cookie to feel at least a little bit concerned here. Not only that, but in the background, the Crimo family was falling apart too. I mean, for one, the deli, which used to be a neighborhood anchor, had now shut its doors due to spiraling debt. It turns out that his father owed more than $1.6 million in debt, and the family home was set to go up for sale after being mortgaged far beyond its value. The business was now falling apart, and despite the distance between Robert and his family, he would have seen this all happening behind closed doors. And with all that financial pressure, tension, and quiet collapse happening around him, that chaos easily grew into resentment. Online, his fantasies were turning even darker, and in one of his videos, he rapped, "You're all sinners, you're all going to die." He would also film himself driving past a local synagogue while muttering rather disturbing things. And in an act that shows that he was planning this massacre, he would even record himself in Central nearly a year before his actions. By June of 2022, Robert had chosen his date of July the 4th. He began to scout rooftops, select pathways, and even prepare a disguise. And then, as we know, this happened.
Gunman opens fire during a parade, killing at least 6 people.
Shooting was very rapid and seemed to be a lot of it.
This is horrible to see all that terror.
In the early morning hours of July the 4th, Robert dressed in women's clothing, including a wig, makeup, and long sleeves to hide his tattoos. He then walked towards downtown with his rifle wrapped inside a blanket, climbed a fire escape, set himself up on the rooftop of an outdoor outfitter, and from there, established a clear line of sight over Central Avenue. At 10:14 a.m., and as marching bands passed beneath him, Robert opened fire. We've already covered what happened next, but in the space of mere minutes, over 70 rounds were fired, each shot aimed into a crowd with nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. In total, 7 people were murdered that day. Kevin and Irina McCarthy were both shot while shielding their toddler son. Catherine Goldstein was murdered while standing next to her daughter, and Stephen Strauss, who was 88 years old, was there out of tradition. Meanwhile, Nicholas Toledo, who was 78 years old, was hesitant to leave his home, but after being convinced by his family to go get some fresh air, he decided to go to the parade. And Jackie Sondheim was a beloved local preschool teacher who was merely out to support her community. When he began to hear sirens, Robert then dropped the rifle and descended the ladder going back towards ground level. And while in disguise, he then slipped into the crowd and kept his head down. To everyone around him, Robert looked like any other terrified citizen. He then walked to his mother's house, grabbed the keys to her Honda Fit, and had even told her that there had been a shooting. She didn't really care though, so she let him go. By the time investigators found the rifle and then traced it back to Robert, he was already out of town. But, of course, he was then found only a few hours later, merely minutes away from the crime scene. And this was the moment that the world was, for a lack of a better word, awakened to find out who Robert Crimo really was. All of the dots were suddenly connected all at once, and those online who noticed his strange and dark demeanor over the years realized that this was, in fact, actually no facade. Meanwhile, all of those in the real world suddenly realized that this horrific shooter had a lot of media online which actually screamed red flags. It's kind of like both halves never really had the full picture. But now, well, it's kind of sickening. Outside of his momentarily feeble attempt to run away, Robert didn't ever really resist when he was arrested. He didn't cry or even try to talk his way out of it either. Instead, when finally in custody, he openly spoke about the shooting and even told investigators that he had considered a second attack in Wisconsin later that day. It was quite obvious that he felt no remorse either, and after looking at all of his social media, it's clear to see that he had fantasized about this for several years. In the days that followed, Highland Park grieved over their enormous loss. It is, in fact, only the tip of the iceberg, because in addition to that, dozens of people were injured, hundreds were mentally scarred, and thousands upon thousands of people who will visit Central Avenue in Highland Park will feel it. Something like this will always completely transform a town.
I was diagnosed with pre-diabetes and high cholesterol. I did some research, found the Mayo Clinic diet, loved what I saw, so I signed up. Since then, I'm down 47 pounds.
Moving into the legal proceedings of this case, the prosecution did not go slow with Robert. He was initially charged with 6 counts of first-degree murder, which was then upgraded to 7 when one of his other victims died in hospital. However, that would only be the beginning. Only a few days later, a grand jury would return with a 117-count indictment, which included 21 counts of murder, 48 counts of attempted murder, and 48 counts of aggravated battery, which actually is quite impressive. I'm still amazed that states like Illinois can slap on so many charges. Of course, these charges reflected the true gravity of Robert's actions, because this wasn't only about 7 people who were murdered, but dozens of others injured, thousands mentally scarred, and an entire community ripped apart. Robert appeared in court on July the 6th. He showed no emotion when his bond was denied, which isn't surprising because, being real, nobody even half expected he'd be given such a thing. He also showed no reaction to the victims' families in the courtroom, and no recognition of the lives that he'd ruined in the process. As the case dragged through 2023 and then into 2024, Robert's defense...
We all out of frame, Lord. Put him back in there. Put him in there so we can see. Put him in there so we can see, child. The defense it can't even, Lord, when the defense see that. I put my head down for 2 seconds and that's what you doing. He's young. You can't really blame him, Lord. He's young. He don't know no better. I'm like, well, you got the rest of your life to think about it. You got the rest of your life to think about it.
Try to push for an insanity plea. Meanwhile...
Insanity! Look at this hair. What insanity? How? Sir.
The public's anger would turn towards the many red flags that were missed along the way. As a result, the state launched a review.
Slim. He's slim, ain't he?
Failed red flag laws, and many civil suits would follow, targeting not only Robert, but the store that had sold him the gun and his very own father who signed his license. In fact, in a rather unusual but welcomed move, Bobby's father, Robert Crimo Jr., was also charged with reckless conduct for helping his son obtain a firearm license. He ultimately took a plea deal over a misdemeanor charge, which landed him 60 days in jail. And despite that tiny sentence, he would only serve half of it before then being released. I can see why many people saw this as a slap on the wrist, and personally I have to agree. But hey, at least it was something against his father. And then, in a strange twist that nobody saw coming, Robert himself even offered to plead guilty. Now, to begin with, he would actually back out of this initial offer, which would reopen old wounds for survivors who now had to prepare to relive their trauma in court. But several months later, he would then change his his mind yet again, and on March 3rd, 2025, Robert Crimo III formally pled guilty to 21 counts of murder and 48 counts of attempted murder. At the time of his plea, he was 24 years old, and of course, he was going to receive the harshest sentence possible in Illinois. It was on April the 24th of 2025 that he was officially sentenced. The judge, Victoria Rossetti, would hand down the only sentence that made sense. For all of his actions, he received 7 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. And if that wasn't enough already, he was given 50 more years for each attempted murder. Now, the angering thing about all of this is that Robert didn't even attend any of his sentencing. That means that he didn't see or face any of the people whose lives that he'd shattered, and he wouldn't even have to listen to any of the impact statements. Instead, his chair remained empty while people just merely spoke to that space instead. For 2 days, survivors and grieving families would deliver those impact statements. Words were spoken into a space where Robert should have been, and I think for a spineless man like him, he should have been forced against his will to listen to all of these statements. To be honest with you, I can't believe that he was actually allowed to opt out of it. I think that sounds ridiculous.
You're going to feel your life change forever. Just kidding. 1 gummy, you're going to feel chill and mellow. 2 gummies, you'll feel euphoric but not overwhelmed. And 3...
So, by now, we've walked through most of Robert's story, but of course, there is still one big question that still remains here. And that is, why did he do it? Robert was a quiet, awkward and shy kid from an otherwise peaceful town, and although, sure, his childhood wasn't the best in some areas, it wasn't too bad either. So, what transformed him into a horrible killer? The truth is, we don't actually know, because although there is a lot of media that he shared online, he never really gave a direct motive or a manifesto. I mean, he did create this rather strange cryptic letter, which we'll get to in just a moment, and there is that strange Are You Awake video too, with all of those strange lyrics, but as for a direct manifesto, no, not really. Even after the fact and in police interviews, he never offered any clear explanation either. All we really have are these strange videos, violent lyrics, and digital breadcrumbs that, yeah, do suggest and hint towards something, but never provide any clear, concrete answer. And so, in the absence of a confession, we are left without any hard facts. All we can really do is retrace the outlines of his life and speculate. Mental health struggles almost certainly played a role here, and Robert's downward spiral followed an all-too-common pattern of social withdrawal, suicidal ideation, and violent fantasies. It all seemed to begin with the death of his closest friend. He shut...
Don't, sir. We're speculating at this point, so I do have to just let Adrian go, because he's gonna jump down all the rabbit holes that he needs to figure out, okay, well, maybe, you know, it was the friend who OD'd. I'm sorry. Was that the reason for you to dress up as a little girl? A teenage girl, a woman, or whatever that was, makeup. Where you get this makeup from? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, where you get this makeup from? Did you do it or did somebody else do it? Because he had on makeup, foundation, lashes, mascara, lipstick, lip gloss, wig. I'm trying to figure out where he get this makeup from. Especially for somebody who's unemployed and ain't got no coins. But don't try to sit here and blame it on that friend who had OD'd. I'm like, he gone. He ain't coming back. Was you there? Did you have a Narcan, sir?
Emotionally, and while there were police visits and fleeting contact with mental health services, nothing stuck. Robert had no treatment plan, no consistent follow-through, and no actual support. Meanwhile, his mother posted online about spiritual healing, but not actual therapy. And whatever help he may have needed, it never seemed to materialize. In addition to this is the element of loneliness too. He lost the one close friend he had, dropped out of school, never seemed to recover, never formed any lasting bonds, never had a proper relationship, and then moved away from his family. Instead, he seemed to find a home in online echo chambers, where edginess and weird behavior is totally normalized, and people seem to lean into violence, which is often rewarded with attention. And as I've already mentioned, he seems to have only aesthetic ideological influences. Because although he did dabble in far-right imagery, posted hate symbols, and even admired killers like Lee Harvey Oswald, it wasn't clean-cut extremism either. He didn't target anyone based on race or religion, and never seemed to talk about it either. In short, it was all just kind of random. I think the main thing that sticks with me here is that, more than anything, he seemed to be obsessed with the idea of becoming someone rather than fighting for any sort of cause. He animated his own school shooter fantasies, rapped about his own death, and even edited himself into a sniper's perspective over Central Avenue. Add a whole bunch of emo montages to the mix and, well, I've got one word for you. Narcissism. So, what really was Robert's motive? Although we can never really tell, what I would put it down to is poor mental health, and Robert desperately trying to make a name for himself no matter the cost.
I always forget about that one. I always somehow, some way seem to forget about that cause, that reason, that purpose. I just, for some reason, I don't know how, I just keep forgetting about that one. And it is just so disappointing to think about it, because you would hate to get to a point to whereas you even have to accept it as a reason, because it's so unfathomable to think that a person would dress up as a girl, just disguise, not for alternative purposes, but just for a disguise, right? So I need my disguise because I know that I'm gonna have to and blend in. But you left, so you did want to get called because this firearm is registered to you, so it's gonna trace back to you. So obviously, like you wanted to get caught, but Adrian said it. It's like wanting to make a name for themselves. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, jeez. You always forget that one. I just always seem to forget that reason. Oh, they just want to make a name for themselves. I wonder why it had to go that route. I wonder why he had to go that route. He seemed to be pretty artistic. He created his own logo. More than likely, he probably shot and edited his own videos. He has like this sort of free artistic, expressive nature about himself. I'm just still not understanding the whole 4th of July aspect. I feel like there's probably a little bit more to the whole 4th of July aspect. or that day, because the purpose of choosing that day, just there's something about 4th of July. I'm not necessarily sure what it is, but you didn't have to climb on top of a rooftop. All these elders that you targeted, and then you didn't hike down, blended in. You know, you so stoic, like you blending in with panicked people, you know, like I don't even know how people didn't even pick up on your aura. But just imagine how deceptive that had to be for you to like blend in, you know, after causing this, you know, and just, and then you done went to your mama's house. Hey, let me borrow your car real quick. She like just blows you off. Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Here you go. So you wiped all the makeup off your face and took the wig off and changed clothes before you got there? Or did you just show up as the girl and was like, hey, let me borrow your car? Because it was just a thought.
Really do know is that he documented himself for multiple years before the attack, and that none of this actually seemed to be spontaneous. And so, on that note, could all of this have possibly been stopped? Well, unfortunately, the answer is yes, because
all them lawn chairs left behind, Lord. We got strollers, scooters, helmets, hats, flip-flops, bicycles. I mean, I'm talking about people left some stuff behind. Believe that. People left some stuff behind.
Those warning signs were always there. The threats, the police reports, and the violent videos online were obvious red flags. And in the end, the system looked the other way in every opportunity. All of the questions surrounding his motive have not disappeared either. In the aftermath of this attack, Illinois tightened its laws, hoping that this will deter shooters in the future. Although, unfortunately, many national loopholes remain. There is no full answer to why this happened, and unfortunately, we likely will never know. But speaking of never knowing, Robert did release a 28-page document called Arcturus. It's a long sequence of numbers that still to this day have not been deciphered. But of course, this might be his own cryptic way of releasing a personal manifesto. By the way, while researching this one, I realized that my good friend Diatrip covered this case a little over a year ago, and it seems that after sharing Arcturus with his followers, one of them actually managed to crack page 1. I'll be leaving a screenshot of it right here for you to...
Let's see. The man is awake. The time to get up and see the truth that has been... Hold on, let me scroll down so you can see. This is page 1. The man is... no periods, just one long ass run-on sentence. No commas, no dashes, no semicolons, no nothing. Just I don't do them run-on sentences.
Oh, and just another shout out to Diatrip here. If you'd like another in-depth perspective of this case, then please do check him out. The guy works so hard on his videos and deserves the recognition. Just one more random side note, by the way, but Robert Crimo's old family home is actually abandoned now too. Another YouTuber who goes by the name of Stringer Media decided to look in the family home and speak to a few locals. Here are a few clips of the house in its current state, and if you'd like to see more of this, I advise you check out his own channel too. Anyway folks, I think I've covered all of the important parts today, so I'm going to wrap this one up here. But I'll finish by saying that this case leaves us behind an entire graveyard of what-ifs. The truth is, we may never actually know Robert's motives. all we're really left with are a whole bunch of red flags and a troubled mind that caused a lot of pain for, well, nothing, really. Now, to be honest with you, I don't like giving killers a platform unless it's at their own expense, and so I'd like to remind you that Robert Crimo is a very poor excuse of a human. And for whatever bravado that he thinks he might have, just remember that he is nothing but a cringeworthy narcissist who thinks that disgust equals attention. And I hope you're enjoying prison, emo Shaggy. Anyway folks, that really is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you again very shortly for another video. If you found this case interesting, then please do remember to subscribe, it really does help the channel out. Otherwise, if you want to follow me on social media, just go to Coffee House Crime on Facebook or Instagram, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it today. Until I see you again, remember to look after yourselves, look after each other, and of course, stay safe and stay curious. Thank you, and goodbye.
That was a pretty tough one, I will say. You know, losing all them elders at that parade. Especially my buddy who didn't even want to come. Everybody encouraging him, go out, no, get out the house, get your... I ain't gonna be long. I just came to watch Adrian, get a little snack. I was minding my business. Hold on, because you know he been off for a few days. No, he dropped the video yesterday. Last night. I don't know, I get my like days and nights mixed up, especially when I get off of here after 12. He dropped a video yesterday about Lil Tim. I guess they were saying something crazy about him. You know, the King Von Tim. Child, it was so much going on.
Trapmore gang, it seems like David's team is panicking. They're doing...
I was trying to keep up with what was going on, because there was a lot of protests going around. Obviously, you know, Minneapolis had one, and New York had one, LA had one. I went over there to Midas Touch earlier today. Trying to figure out what had happened when I had logged in. But anyway, child, Chrissy and Desmond. Because you listen, when we're on YouTube, we talk YouTube, okay? Chrissy and Desmond had, I think they're getting a divorce. Okay, Christy, whatever, man. Like, you know who I'm talking about. But I think that they're getting a divorce. Let me go to I can go to the shade room, cause that's. I mean, I had saw like a video earlier. About it, and I was like, oh no, tell me this can't be true. Why are you on? Oh my goodness, hold on just a second. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, give me a second. Let me change. Give me a second. I had to change him. I'm trying to figure out why is he over here on take 2. Sir, you're done. But then what I came to find out, because Desmond had said something on his Instagram story. Right? And I feel like I should have seen this coming when I saw her in the kitchen cooking a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was like a month ago or something like that. I had saw her like in the kitchen. She was like trying to cook something and she was like throwing stuff, and I like it looked like she was trying to like be funny about it, but at the same time, it was kind of like one of those moments where you're like, okay, why are you in the kitchen? Because that ain't even your area of expertise. So I'm like, what you doing? But I guess, but I just, it was so sad to see, because I'm like, no. But then, hold on, give me a second. Let me, was it Shade Room? Then I had saw that? Or was it? Let me go back. Hold on, give me a second. Because that was disrespectful. Talking about Glorilla look like Lil Mama. She don't. Okay, here it. I had clicked on the wrong one. Okay, now he had said something. He had went to his Instagram stories. Let me just go to it so I can read it, because I'll be trying to scroll and read it at the same time. Go back up. Was this it? On his Instagram story. I want to begin by apologizing to Christy, our family, and everyone who has been impacted by the public attention surrounding this situation. I know this news has been disappointing for many, and I'm truly sorry for the hurt it has caused. Christy is the mother of my children, and that will always come first. I remain fully committed to being an active, present, and loving parent to our boys, as I have always been. Pop your sheet, these. Christy and I faced challenges and made sincere efforts to work through them. Toward the end of 2025, I wanted to separate. And I had conversations with Christy regarding this. During this period, I made choices that I am not proud of. I took responsibility for those actions. I shared this with her directly and personally. And ultimately, we decided to divorce. I ask for privacy and compassion as we navigate this difficult chapter of our lives. Thank you to everyone who has supported us over the years. I'm grateful for that support and will continue sharing my love for cooking. Let me read it. Hold on, let me see. Hold on. Because it's cutting off a little bit. Hold on. Just know, because Instagram will be talking about, no, you can't see this. You need to log in to Instagram. Okay. Continue that journey with me. Okay, my love for cooking and the things that inspire me. I hope you will continue that journey with me. That's what he has said. And first of all, shout out to Desmond for even making a statement during this specific period, because we do understand, for one, them YouTube couples, when they break up, because you have to change your YouTube handle. And so now her say Christy, whoever she is, Sarah, I believe, and he Desmond Scott. So, now people got to know you by your real name. Because I think they were the Scotts or something like that. But pay attention to what Desmond just said. Desmond made it clear, crystal clear, if I may. He made it crystal clear. He said, excuse me, but I wanted to separate. And I told her that to her face. And so during our separation, yes, indeed, sure did. Sure did. Excuse me. My thing is, I feel like that should be like a Q&A. It should be like a question, like a poll, I should say, not a Q&A, but a poll. It should be like a poll. Hey, if you're separated, no, matter of fact, we should go and ask Cardi B. Go and ask Cardi B. Don't ask her now because, Selena just put all her business out there. Technically, she was putting Offset business out there, but subsequently, you know, her business is still his business is still her business for a short period of time. Tell him to hurry up and sign these divorce papers so he can do what he want to do, and it doesn't have anything to do with you anymore. But go and ask Cardi B. Well, ask Offset then. Like, go ask, if y'all are separated, can you go and smash somebody? But don't ask Offset, just ask Offset and Krishan, because allegedly, that was, I don't even need to say allegedly, because remember, Jason Lee asked Krishan that, hey, excuse me, what was going on? And she was like, well, they were separated. So I'm like, I thought that was, and then technically they're still separated. So you can go ask Cardi, like, okay, so you can go and have coitus with other people while you're separated, because then you just have a baby while you're separated, right? I mean, the divorce is pending, but that's still not divorce. That's still considered separated. So I'm like, well, I mean, you divorced Desmond because he told you he wanted to separate, and then he went and got something during that separation period. How he did say he wanted to separate. But I'm like, maybe he used that as an excuse. Maybe he said he wanted to separate just so he can go and do what he wanted to do, you know. And then you gonna come back. When he come back, then you gonna ask him, well, did you with somebody else? Well, he gonna lie. Nah, I did. Well, yeah, I did. You gonna get mad, and then you gonna separate. Y'all just bought this house. You know what I mean? Still ordering stuff, still interior designing it and stuff like that. And what are you doing with this robot dog? I don't understand. I'm confused. What are you doing with this robot dog, Christy? I'm just a little confused. Like, I'm just a little confused. Like, it threw me off. It threw me for a complete loop. You know, because we had to sit there and watch her unbox the dog. And let me get on back to what I was doing, because I saw that and it just disturbed me. For sure. Let me get back.
Anything that they can to distance themselves from the death of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, the 14-year-old girl who was unfortunately found deceased in the trunk of singer David's Tesla, parked near the home in Hollywood that he was renting. And there's been a lot of talk, a lot of finger pointing about the teams and the people involved. And it seems like one of his managers from one of the little finesses that he had going on with these guys, they were involved in his career, they're all distancing themselves from him, saying, I didn't know nothing. Apparently, some of these people that are distancing themselves from him are being called out for the cap, and they're doing anything they can to avoid accountability. So in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about his alleged manager, Josh Marshall, aka Josh Mogul, whose label Mogul Vision was apparently listed as inactive in the state of Florida after the discovery of Celeste, with no annual report in 2025 ever being submitted, leading to the dissolution. But people in the comments are actually saying that he had basically moved his business to Puerto Rico. Maybe it's for tax reasons, maybe because the heat's getting a little bit hot in the United States, or, well, I mean, you know, heat's getting a bit hot in the mainland, all right? So it's looking a little bit hot, right? People are saying, but David's innocent, right? But David transferred property back to his parents, leaving him without any assets. Mogul Vision has been dissolved and restarted in Puerto Rico, and David hired the Hollywood attorney that repped Johnny Depp, Mel Gibson, Kanye, and Leonardo DiCaprio, and many more coincidences, okay?
You have it listened, you type it in, and then you go digging.
People are saying not very much.
Who is that, Nick? What is his name? What is Nick's name? Reiner. That, you know, Nick and because I don't know what made him think that he was about to get his lawyer fees paid. No, sir. Completely cut off. Public defender. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. No, sir. It's not happening, buddy. It's definitely not happening. It was that doggone lawyer who thought that he was gonna have his fees paid by the family. Sir, excuse me. He just completely murdered his mom and his dad, and you think that we're gonna pay?
Their vision, oh heck, they filed for dissolution in September. It's a bit telling on the timing. They knew it was all over. And people saying, I'm no legal, but this is 100% to protect his own ass from civil liability from if and when the shit hits the fan and David is implicated in Celeste's demise. Money? What money? I don't got no money. You can't sue if the defendant has no funds on paper. Now, people are saying that Jay Mogul and his wife just want to keep living the good life, which no doubt she'll continue to openly and shamelessly flaunt on her Instagram account. I'm not going to lie, he's got a hot wife. Right, he does have a hot wife. People are saying, ew, I didn't need to seal that. But yes, just like the wife of Derek Chauvin divorced her husband when he was found guilty to protect assets, I foresee a dissolution in marriage in the next few months between these two.
I didn't know that about Derek Chauvin's. I think, what's the name wife divorced him too. Who was that Florida and I had just said his name earlier. That's why he right there on the tip of my tongue. Who was that with Trayvon Martin? What's the Zimmerman? Goodness gracious. I feel like his wife had divorced him too. I believe so. Didn't he say that in that interview that he had did?
Now that is pretty savage.
I know he'll sit here and read all these emails. That's what really be throwing me off, because I be trying to, I'm like, okay, you're right. All right, I'll forget. Okay, so we get the gist of it. His manager is trying to distance himself. Got it. He'll throw me off doing that, and it'll throw me off. Look. Look, I'm over here fooling with Tasha K. I don't even know how the hell she ended up on my feed. I don't know how she ended up over here on my feed. Ain't nothing going on. I'm finna get up out of here. Look, I'm not finna get on up out of here because I don't know. What was that? I don't think I seen this one. There was something going on with Erica Gerd recently. Jesse was talking about it. He was just talking about the money. I think Niecy had already been talking about that. What they call it? The alleged money laundering. I said alleged now because they doing the investigation, not me. But allegedly, it's a lot of. Is it money laundering? No, I think it's what did they call it? I can't think of the name of it. Kickbacks. There it is. All those kickbacks that they are doing over there. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what they call it, kickbacks. Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know. Yeah, it happens. We understand. But I'm about to get ready to get on up out of here. I'm not going to keep you for so long. I know it's Monday. You know what that means. Hence the reason why I decided to get on up in here all late. Because Mondays off. So what I'm gonna be ending up doing is making like a little schedule, right? I'm gonna start like pre-recording videos, so that way I can start feeding that algorithm. You know, you have like the live streaming algorithm, you have the video algorithm where you like pre-record, upload, stuff like that, and then you have like the shorts, and then you have like the community post. And so there's a lot of like algorithms involved here when it comes to YouTube, having a YouTube channel and stuff like that. And so it's very like tedious work. And so I do have some YouTube shorts on this channel here where I end up like releasing from like last year. There'll just be like shorts, like highlights and stuff like that. Like when you go live, there's an automatic highlight that is generated. They say it's an AI highlight. And so it'll highlight like 50 seconds of the live stream, right? And then throughout the live stream, they have this on-screen button here where I can also highlight the last 49 seconds or something like that. So I have like all those, but they are set to private. They're set to private. I'll let the computer finish charging. And so if I don't release them, then they'll, still be on the feed, but they won't be released. They'll just be private. So I'm trying to go through those and release those individually to kind of feed the short algorithm. And then, like I said, I want to start pre-recording, having like some story times and things like that to like pre-record. I think the first series I'll do is my homeless venture. I call it a venture because it was really a venture for sure. But I'll start like recording that series. I just have to, maybe get like a table of contents, kind of map it out to try to see like how I want to organize it and stuff like that. So I want to start doing that. I'll still go live, of course, because OBS is here. But I know that I can record the videos and I can like section them off. So like how I just watched Coffee House Crime, that could have just been I could have recorded that and then just had it as a separate video. But if I'm just being completely honest, I am horrible at editing videos. Sorry, I thought that was, I thought that was the extension cord. I don't know what it is, but you want to know what I realized? When I used to watch Roberto Blake, he's a YouTuber. You want to know what his advice is? You have to make a schedule and you have to prioritize, okay, this day this is my recording day. And then this day is my editing day. And then this day is my upload day. That's 3 days right there already. 3. Record day, edit day, upload day. That's 3 days right there already. Right? Which is totally fine. So I'm thinking that could be like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then I can live stream on Friday and Saturday, right? Maybe even Sunday. but at least try to give myself like Sunday off. And then I can use Monday off, but I'll use it to like pre-plan. So I'm trying to mentally like get myself like in that headspace because Madison and Madeline, they want to, start like family blogging and stuff like that. They want to start like having like that family YouTube channel and stuff. So obviously it's a lot, but it's 2026 and we can, we can get it. We can figure it out, we can figure it out. Obviously we were able to figure out the whole live streaming thing, so. But of course, that's going to be on a different channel. Diary of QLM, that's my channel. Mrs. Dr. Mind Games, this is, like entertainment, sort of, like reaction channel. Let's just put it that way. It's just my reaction channel. It has obviously changed over time, especially if you scroll back to like maybe last year sometime. But when it comes to, having like the vlog style, family vlog styles, things of that such, that's going to be on a different channel as well. So as long as I have like recording day, editing day, upload day, sort of like prioritized, then I feel like everything else will just kind of like go into play. Fall into place, I should say. But in the meantime, I'm listen, you gotta have like a little outro, okay? And I got you like an hour, so that wasn't that bad. But in the meantime, in between time, okay, love you, bye.